Good morning, everyone. It is January 7th, 2018, Sunday, at 10:07 a.m. I apologize for starting late. Welcome to Pocky Substrate Entertainment, episode 48, Granblue Chef Brigade. Wait. Any case, I'm your host, Richard Pocky Kim. Welcome to the stream. As was voted on the poll last night, yesterday rather, I'm going to go over grids first. Once I know some people are actually watching, let me go check that real fast. Some folks might not be in yet. Oh, there are plenty of folks in. Hello, everyone. Let me adjust the camera real fast. I don't want you guys to see my legs. No offense. There, that's better. That seems more normal. But yeah, so today I'm going to go over the basics of battle grids, weapons in general, the kind of things you want to do to build your grid. Switch this to English real fast so you guys can actually follow along. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. No. That is not actually the advice. I'm talking about general advice. Specific grid advice, maybe later, depending on how much time we've got. So, before I start, some information. Let's see. Anything important going on? The New Year stuff has ended, so hopefully you all got good rolls. I got reasonable, but not great rolls. The event will be ending in 2 days, the current event, right behind you, with badass Zeta there, looking all trigger-y. Trigger as in the animation studio. Let's see. The New Year's draw sets will be ending soon. If you like the characters a lot, you can get the skins and a 10 roll for 3,000 mobile coin or Granblue coins. For Dynax, this is true. Kind of 5 of one, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. The next event coming up after the Guild War, which is coming up soon, the Guild War, by the way, will be fire favored. It'll be a wind boss. So maybe I'll go over the fire grids for folks real fast. Let's see here. Well, you know, the nice thing about Guild Wars is that you don't have to bring the favorite element grid. It's not like the Primarch fights where you have to bring the element or you suffer, or other certain bosses that require the same thing. Shamsul, your job in a Guild War will be to fight the lower level guys to get the meat to summon the bosses for the rest of the guild to beat down on, and then you'll get points that way. Maybe I can go over Guild War stuff too today. Let me bring up my quick document that I wrote for this, so I don't forget what I'm trying to say. There we go. Weapon grids and you. Again, this time. There we go. Let's just see. Morning. Welcome to the stream. Let's see here. All right. So that being said, we'll go ahead and get started on this. Another real announcements for now. My schedule is going to be staying the same, Sundays and Thursdays for the foreseeable future. Thursdays are going to get shortened to an hour and a half to 2 hours at most. My work schedule is changing from 9 to 6 to 10 to 7, which means I have less time after work on Thursdays to prepare and do other stuff before I stream and then pass out. So Sundays should stay the same, 10 to 1, plus, extensions depending. It's nicer in some ways, but keep in mind that I have an hour commute, so I'll get home at 8. So I'll only have an hour, like I said, to really prepare for the stream on Thursdays. That being said, doesn't mean I'm missing more of the rush hour, thankfully. Some pluses, some minuses, Alright, so let's go ahead. I will choose my fire party for this. Go to the grid. So, those of you who've played before know, of course, there are the 6 elements right now. Fire, water, earth, wind, light, and dark. Or dark, depending how you want to count. And they all have different styles, and they are strong against and weak against a specific element. And it goes in that order. Fire is strong against... It's not Captain Planet. Light would be heart, I guess, because characters from Idolmaster CG, Cinderella Girls, tend to be light if they're the cute element. So, maybe? Not sure what dark would count as then, but any case. The elements gain a bonus to damage against and resistance to the element they're strong against. So, a fire grid, fire attacks, I should say, and fire characters do extra damage against wind foes and take less damage from wind foes. Water does the same to fire, earth does the same to water, wind does the same to earth, and thus you have what we call the wheel, the elemental wheel. Light and dark are strong against each other, but not... I don't recall if actually they do more damage or not against each other, or they take more damage against each other. I don't think they actually do. Off the top of my head. I think they do, actually, because otherwise it'd be weird. But, in any case, they only affect each other and not the other 4. So, I'd have to check, honestly. It's been a while since I really paid attention to that. So those are the 6. When you do a battle, there'll be an icon in the lower left-hand corner of the battle portion of the screen that shows the element wheel there. So you can always look at that for reference. Now, looking at the grid here, every weapon has... Let me go ahead and click on ones for information. This block right here is all the important information you really care about for the base part of your grid. Let's see here. Hit points, of course. Every weapon you get will add to the total hit points of your team. Likewise, the attack value or below it does the same thing. So, this number here, total hit points and total attack, are these numbers, these green numbers, all added up. You'll notice, however, when you play, your characters have more than this many hit points. This is in addition to what your characters have, plus other sort of bonuses and things. Skills affect this, special abilities affect this, EMP bonuses affect this. But this number will be, if we added all 10 of these green numbers here together, it would add up to this. Likewise, we added all of these red numbers, orangish red numbers here together, we would get this. So, the raw numbers on a weapon are important. However, what is more important, a lot of the time, are their skills. This icon here is what you want to pay the most attention to. So, go ahead and click back on a cane. Vulcan's Might 2, level 10. Big boost to fire allies attack. So this is what the skill does. It is a % increase in the amount of damage your characters will do during a fight. Again, modified by various other things during the battle, but this is a flat increase before anything else gets added in. Bit of a dry throat today, my apologies. And you can see here it says requirement fire. It means this skill only affects fire characters. Now looking at the icon here, and you can see on the lower left hand side of the screen there, I've got some icons there which are kind of cut off. Each skill, each basic skill, has a different icon. There's a sword for attack boost, hearts for hit point boost, the little crescent moon looking thing, I'm not sure what that's supposed to be, for enmity. There is the snowflake looking thing for crit, I think it's supposed to be an explosion, for critical strike increase. Critical strike increase is both a chance to critical strike and damage done upon critical strike. Multi-attack boost, which are those little starbursts there. It's 2 for double and 3 for triple attack. The strong arm, the muscly arm for stamina. Enmity and stamina are opposites of each other. Enmity is about the lower a character's health is, the more damage they will do. And thus the higher their health is, the less damage they will do. It won't penalize them. You don't take a hit to attack power for being at full health, but you won't do as much damage as you would if you were at 50% health or lower. That's an example. Conversely, stamina wants you to be at full health, and the lower your health goes, the less damage you'll do. So you don't want to mix those two kinds of skills in one grid, usually. So those are the 6 general types of attack skill boosts you'll get before we get into the really complicated stuff like the Bahamut weapons and the Omega weapons, which might be for another time. Generally speaking, the thing you're most concerned about, the one you care the most about, is this right here, this little sword. That's all you want for now. You want this sword, and you want the background to match the characters in your party. Excuse me. Now, that being said, in addition to you wanting the element to be matching, this icon here, the little M, or the EX, or lack thereof, here, is also important. If there's no icon there, if there's no letter there, I should say, excuse me, it means the weapon is considered what's known as a normal increase. If there's an M, it stands for magna, or in the English parlance, omega increase. And if it has an EX, then it's known as an EX, or unknown increase. This is because of how damage is calculated in this game, which is a really, really complicated, no, not complicated, but annoying way of dealing with things. Each of those three multipliers are considered differently before they're used. So you'll take your base attack power, and that gets multiplied by the normal attack boost, the magna or omega attack boost, and the EX attack boost. And there's also what's known as the elemental attack boost, which generally isn't on many weapons. You find those more on summons, and we'll get to that in a second, but those get added together to make one giant multiplier. And they get multiplied into your attack power. And so you want to get your skills as high as possible for the biggest multiplier you can get. Now, why keeping these three types of weapons separate in your head matters is that summons can affect this. Let me go to my summons. Go to fire for the example. We got three right here as perfect examples. Catalina's on here, Lady Caterpillar. It says 50% boost to fire attack. This increases just an overall damage. This is counter rather as an overall damage boost to your team. However, it is added to the elemental multiplier, which, like I said, doesn't normally get many other increases. So, as an overall boost to your multiplier, it's very small. But this is the same kind of thing that you get from Lucifer or Shiva or the other kind of big guys. You want this, usually want this to be as big a number as possible. You do want this, but you want this on a summon, not on a weapon. Because this only affects the kind of overall attack versus the weapon grid. And the weapon grid is where you get the large majority of your attack power from. So, we come see our friend Colossus Omega, where it says 100% boost to Vulcan skills. It's a little complicated. I'll sum up in a bit, like, generally speaking, what you want to do. But the Vulcan skills, in this case, it doesn't list like the whole thing here. Unfortunately, I wish it did. What this means is that all of the Colossus Omega weapons, and a couple others that have skills that are from the same group, but are not drops from Colossus Omega, have their skill effect doubled. So, say you have a Colossus Cane, and it gives you a 10% increase to your attack. This would mean it increases it by 20%. Because of this, if you have this summon at this level, you will want most of your grid to be Colossus Omega weapons, as long as they have that sword icon. Because then all those 20% get added together on top of the other bonuses, and then, but the bonuses from the Colossus Omega weapons would be multiplied. I meant to have a spreadsheet put together so I could show you guys really fast how it kind of works, but I wasn't feeling great last night, so I fell asleep early. My apologies. So Colossus Omega here will increase, like I said, the Colossus Omega weapon skills. Then you have Agni here, who is known as a primal summon, and he does the same thing for these specific skills: Fires, Hellfires, Infernos, and Red Star. Those are the ones that you'll find on fire weapons that are of the normal type, that they have no M and no EX on their icon. So if you have him at max level, then you will see your weapons increase by 80% or 120% if you have at max level, respectively. So in that case, if you have him as your primary summon for that team, you'll want as many of those normal weapons as you can. So the weapons you're gathering, the types of weapons you're gathering, will depend on what your primary summon is. And as I talked about a while back in my first 101 class, every summon has a call and an aura. Although admittedly sometimes the aura is nothing. The aura is the constant effect that boosts your team, and then the call is what happens when you use it during battle. So you can see here, my main summon is Colossus, and so every weapon in this grid with the M icon has their skill boost doubled. It's 100% increase. As I mentioned, EX weapons, or unknown weapons, are a third type of weapon, and they do not get their skill increased by anything. I'll take that back. There are a few summons that do that, but it's pretty much not something you'd want to run with, so don't worry about it too much. But again, because of the way the multipliers work, most of the time you're going to want at least one EX weapon in your grid to increase your multiplier. One question I get a lot is, why are skill levels important? And that's because the amount of boost a skill will give you is based upon the skill level. At level 1, it's usually pretty small, like 8 or 9%, maybe 10%. And then as it goes up, it'll increase 1 or 2% each time. So you want to get those skill levels as high as you can. Now, if you do not have an Omega summon at 3 stars, and you don't have a Primal summon at 3 stars, generally speaking, what'll work best for you until you do is just get weapons that have high attack power, I will be going over that in a bit. Boosting skill levels is a minorly annoying thing as well, and I will talk about what the best way to do that is, in my opinion. I was gonna put together a chart for that too, and again, fell asleep. So, pardon me, popping my back. Well, like I said, generally speaking, you want whatever has the highest attack power for you, and then as many. If I had a whiteboard I could put right here, and I could just, or I could maybe write things up and put it here, I would, but I didn't think to buy one yesterday. I should see about maybe finding a digital whiteboard or something I can like hit and use. But in any case, if you do not have Colossus Omega, if you don't have Agni, for a Fire Grid as an example, you just want, and this element here, by the way, the weapons element itself, doesn't necessarily matter. What matters is the icons element. There are some weapons that give 2 skills. As an example, there's a axe from Luminaire that boosts health for light and attack for water. And the weapon itself is light element, but some people use them in their water grids because of the boost to light. In fact, let me show you that really fast as an example. Assuming I haven't already gotten rid of it. Don't think I have. There we go. I've got 5. So you notice, again, it's a light weapon. You see right there, light weapon. And it has 2 skills. Big boost to light allies max HP. So there's the heart. Some Omega skill. But then also big boost to water allies attack. There's the water. Here's the water icon, attack, and again, the normal attack boost, not a Omega or a EX attack boost. So the weapons, the only time a weapons element really matters, at least for now, unless they change things, is when you're using it as your main hand weapon. That the main hand weapon for your team will determine your character's element. So if I equip this as my main hand, my character would be considered light, not water. Even though it's got a water skill and a light skill. So, that being the case, I could toss this into a water grid if I had the water primal, Varuna, and she would increase this skill only, not both. Let's see, let me get my note real fast. 1 second, please. So yeah, I'll try to go over, depending on how much time we've got, I'll try going over the multiplayer stuff, but it's kind of, I can also go over that individually with people later on if they want. And there's also stuff in the GBF wiki in English that goes over it, so. Alright. As one other note real fast. There we go. SR weapons, if you're still building out your grid and you don't have enough SSRs to fill in your grid with the appropriate skilled weapons, SR weapons can work in a pinch as well. Just remember that you're looking for weapons that have the sword here, not the heart. And please never, don't use weapons that have no skill whatsoever, if you can all help it. So like, if you're building a wind grid, the axe and the gun are actually reasonable weapons. They're not great. They're not as good as their SSR equivalents, but still, they're worth skilling to level 3 or 4. Same thing with the water spear for a water grid, Colossus dagger for a fire grid. I think light is one of the few types that does not actually get any attack up. Yeah, I don't think light gets attack up from SRs. when you're starting off, you do what you can. But if you have anything that would work better, please do something else. So, skilling up skill levels. Basically speaking, as long as a weapon has a skill level on its own, it will count towards increasing that weapon's skill level. And the higher the skill level of the weapon being used to increase the other weapon, the higher the % chance that it will go up. Now there is I'll put this in the chat really fast. It's very numbery, so I apologize for that. And I'm going to go over this in a more normal parlance type way of doing it. Upgrade. We'll stick with fire just because there. We'll use this. We'll use the olden ancient XX. So it's currently skill level 1, and if you look at that link I just put in there, each weapon is worth a certain value of skill level boost. Generally speaking, for a SSR weapon, you want to use SR weapons to skill level it. And it takes, it takes two SR weapons. I'll put in one just to show you. 50% with a single weapon. So if I put in 2, obviously it'll be 100%. There you go. For the first 5 levels of a weapon for an SSR weapon, SRs tend to be the easiest way to go. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Level 2, from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6. And you can theoretically keep going that way. Just keep adding 2. It'll be 2. Now, keep in mind, that's 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 10, so on and so forth, to get to level 10 total. So it adds up to what? 10, 20, 28, 34, 40, 40 total SRs to get to level 10. Yeah, it's this current level times 2. Pretty much. The easiest way to get these SRs are to fight the hard versions of the Omega bosses. So Colossus hard, Leviathan hard, Yggdrasil hard, Tiamat hard. I forget what the name of that fight is for Lumiere, because it's not Lumiere hard. And Celeste hard. You usually get like 1 or 2 every couple fights. Additionally, events give them to you as well. When you do this, if you're no longer using SRs for your grid, I was about to get to that actually, yes. If you're using SRs in your grid, try to only use heart hit point increasing SRs to feed, and then you can put the weapon increase, the attack increase SRs into your grids. And since you want them to be worth more to you as for your grid, skill level them to like 3 or 4, and then when it's time to switch to SSRs, super rares, you can use those as higher level fodder for your SSR weapons. Leveling SRs, by the way, is half as many as they are for super rares, so it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's skill level times 1. One other quick note, you cannot skip levels, so if you just shove in 10, it'll still only, if I put in 10 right now, I would only still get 1 level, and these 2 would be wasted. So don't try to skip ahead and save time, unfortunately. You have to just go 2, then 4, then 6. Now, if you have a weapon at skill level 5 or higher, and you're at the point where you're getting SSR weapons that are not any use to you, let me show you here. Like this Colossus gun, Colossus Carbine Omega, Vulcan's Aegis 2, hit points. Really not worth it for my grid because I want attack. So when you get past skill level 6, 5 or 6 depending on your preference, it's better to start using fodder SSRs, which I know sounds strange, but to skill level them up. Let me find my chart real fast. So when I'm skill leveling myself, when I go from 5 to 6, instead of using 10 SR weapons, which I would rather use to skill up other stuff, I'll just use a single level 1, skill level 1 SSR. From 6 to 7, I will actually use a skill level 2 SSR, because a skill level 2 SSR counts the same as what would work anyways, which is a skill level 1 SSR plus 2 SR weapons. And a level 2 SSR weapon will take you all the way to 10. Actually take you to 11 depending on the weapon. Some weapons do have a skill cap of 15 instead of 10. There we go. So let me look at my notes real fast here. There we go. So for skill leveling, from 1 to 5, SRs are best. From 6 to 10, SSRs are best, if you have them available. If not, just pile up a bunch of SR weapons. And you can also, since you can skill level the SRs as well, if you want to save on your SRs, you can take one SR weapon, feed one other SR weapon into it to make an SR2, a skill level 2 SR weapon, and use a bunch of those types, a bunch of skill level 2 SRs, to level up your SSR weapons. The exact number of which it would take, I could not actually tell you. Didn't have time to sit there and math all that out. But in any case, I'll try to make some stuff this week and put up a chart up for people to use, to make it a little easier. But to sum up again really fast for this particular portion of the grid, you want it's a good node. Thank you. 99% chance is not guaranteed. Sometimes people will toss in one rare weapon, which will put it up to 100. So even the rare weapons are useful for that. Oh, one other thing. When you're using SRs to level up skills of your weapons, try to avoid using the weapons from the gacha. I know, especially now that people have a ton of them from the event, where we got multiple rolls during the winter break, that you probably have a lot of SR weapons. But if you can, hold on to them, because, and this will be for another lesson some other time, but the gacha weapons can be what's known as reduced. You can see that on my screen there. And when they're reduced, they give you what's known as weapon quartz. I am. Excuse me. Goodness. Ugh. My apologies. And they will be a good source for the weapon quartz you need to uncap some weapons. Thank you. Thank you, folks. They'll be useful for thanks. Useful for uncapping weapons to their last star. I would suggest against that. I really would. One skill level increase is not worth losing the fodder, honestly. So go on camp real fast. Let me show you. Actually, no, let's not do that. Let's show you an Omega weapon. Oh. I can't, because I have not fought that boss yet. Alright. We'll use water as an example then. So to uncap the Omega weapons require 8 different elements, or materials, I should say. And as you can see here, 2 of them are quartz. Water quartz, which you get from, thankfully it tells you, reducing SR and SSR water summons. And weapon quartz, in this case daggers, from SR and SSR dagger weapons. Now, weapons that come from within the game, from fighting monsters and bosses and such, you get 1, I believe. Yeah, you get 1 from a weapon drop SR weapon, and you get 20 from an SSR weapon. So this Leviathan Gaze Omega here itself is only worth 20 per star. But you get 15 from a gacha SR weapon and 200 from a gacha SSR weapon. So any gacha weapons you get that are not R, because rares, don't worry about those. Rares you can just use as fodder. But SRs and SSRs that you're not going to use in your grids, put them in your storage, leave them in your mailbox, whatever. But do not use them for, let me rephrase that, I highly recommend you do not again, I highly recommend you do not use them for skill leveling weapons. I did that back in the past, and I wish I hadn't, because I could have level uncapped some of my weapons now more easily if I had. So there's that. Well, if you're going to stick with the guns for a while, which most people tend to, it's worth it. You get a fairly big boost to your excuse me. The attack cap goes up. The skill cap goes up more importantly, so you get even more boost bonus, attack bonus that way. I know folks who are, they have only a few swords available to them, but they're still using a Lumiere gun. So one of the joyful things about this game is that some of the names are not the same. Case in point, these. Luminera Bolt Omega. I was using this for a very long time. In the Japanese version, however, it's Chevalier Bolt Omega. And so, a lot of folks I know who played the English version, who play in English, I should say, it's not a version, who play it with the text in English, know the boss is Luminera. I know the boss is Chevalier. So, oftentimes we'll say Chev Lumi or Lumi Chev. All the other 5 Omega bosses are just Colossus is Colossus, Leviathan is Leviathan, Tiamat is Tiamat. But for some reason, they decided that Chevalier became Luminera. I do not work at Cygames. I could not tell you why they made that decision. They just did. The sword in question, by the way, that are these here. This weapon is kind of unusual in that it actually does have 2 skills of the same element that are boosts to your team, an Omega skill and a normal skill. And it is one of the most powerful weapons in the game. It also has the lowest drop rate in the game. I've been playing this game for a while, and only recently did I start getting these drops, as people who know me and talk Granblue with me a lot will attest to. Any case, yeah, like,
Luria, この広い町にどんな食べ物があるか一緒に確かめに行こう。
by the way, I again am going to say that they said they were increasing the drop rate for, quote, certain weapons, end quote, from certain bosses, including Chevalier / Luminaire era. They never specifically said they're increasing the drop rate of the swords. That being said, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know. No, there is not. That's a good question, Nico. Also, welcome to the stream, Nico. It is all additive, so if you have 5 small attack boosts, and they're all 10% each, it's just 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10. There's no there are no diminishing returns in this, thankfully. So that would be kind of awful. That would require grids that looked like all sorts of spaghetti salad at that point. If you look at my weapon grid here, you notice I've got these 4 stacked here, and then I promise I'm not bragging. I promise I'm not bragging. I've got 4 of these here. According to Japanese theory crafters, I want 7 of these in my grid. 7! And they wouldn't recommend that if there was diminishing returns. So, I've been working on this grid for a very long time. So, one other quick note. Traditionally speaking, gacha weapons tend to have... Oh, well, thank you, Ducky. I appreciate it, man. One of these days I'll be able to make your art streams and I'll actually be awake for them and not at work. But in any case, a gacha weapon and an equivalent drop weapon, the skills will be about the same, but the attack power and hit point bonus will be slightly higher on gacha weapons usually. That being said, again, it's usually better to just, unless you're a whale and you're spending ridiculous amounts of money on this game, like Nakamoto Yuichi, the voice actor, who I'm afraid to think about how much money that man throws at his various games. But generally speaking, there are drop weapons that give normal skills, as an example and such. So, or yeah, really lucky. Yeah. So, but yeah. So, yeah. So, when you're starting off a grid, like I said, starting with SR weapons, you know, when I first started playing, again, when I got restarted into the game, because I stopped playing for a while. All right. Spear. My water grid, I had managed to get Leviathan 3-star, actually. Somehow. I blame Andrew. Don't look at me. But so I had Leviathan 3-star, which was the water skills bonus, but I had no SSR Leviathan weapons, so my grid was full of Leviathan spines and whatever the dagger is called. And that was fine. I was actually doing reasonable damage with my water grid. Not great, but reasonable. And then as I started getting SSR daggers, I started to pardon me, I'm brain farting now. I started to switch them out for the daggers. I would say go ahead and get them to like level 3 to 5, somewhere in there, Nekomata. 3 to, I mean, if you've got lots of fodder, it's one thing, but yeah, 3 to 5 is generally speaking not too bad. And then you can use those skill level 3 to 5 weapons to skill up your SSRs, once they're past skill level 5 or 6 themselves, it'll be a lot easier then. So yeah, as I was gonna say, I wish I had taken the picture way back in the day, but that was 2 years ago, a year and a half ago maybe, where I had a grid full of spears and daggers, or spears and guns, spears and something, and water that were all skill level 4 and 5, and then like I said, I started just swapping them out for the SSR dagger, and eventually I started feeding those weapons into the daggers to skill level them up. So yeah, so yes, to answer your question, Nikomata, I'd say 3 to 5. Get to the 3 to 5. Okay, let's see. One other thing that will help with people's grids is the weapon series known as the to a point, actually, yes, gnome. There are certain weapons that I can't recall off the top of my head where the skill level is equally important to the attack power, but generally speaking, skill level is more important. The multiplier is a bigger thing. That's why, like, for example, the Colossus Kings, rather, they have really low attack power. So you normally would be like, why would I bother using this? But the skill boost, you know, for a Magna Omega grid is still more important. So yeah, I would. So yeah, getting the skill level up is a much higher. So yeah, skill level is usually more important. I'd say 90% of the time than attack power. You get to the point where when all your skill levels are really high, then you start kind of like, okay, now I need to min-max a little bit and try to get more attack power in there. But until you hit that point, skill level is far more important. Now I'm going to talk about sword, wand, bow, fist. Let's see if this works. That's fine. A lot of people don't know about the skills, and that's why I'm doing this right now. And this will be I'm gonna put this on my YouTube channel too when I'm done, so that if you folks have friends who would like the advice, and you don't necessarily have the time to explain things, you can shoot them to the link then really fast. But yeah, skills. It took me, when I first started playing, a little while to figure out the skill thing, and it annoyed me because back then, when I first started playing the... Whoa. Oh, thank you for the follow, Neko. Afraid my own following noise. Yeah, I did the same thing, man. Don't feel bad. And that's why I'm doing this. When I first started playing the game, about a month into launch, the number of weapons and stuff was really low. Like, there were very few options for a lot of things. Yay, thanks for the subscription, Duck. Hooray for Amazon Prime. But yeah, like, a lot of the things that are in the game now were not there. I stopped playing because I got bored really fast. I came back a year and some ago, and almost 2 years ago now. Thank you for the subscription, Nick, Mr. Lupu. And it's such a much better game now than it was. Like, half the Omega weapons weren't in yet. Like, in fact, most of them weren't in yet, honestly. So people were building grids. Thank you for the follow. No. So things are definitely better now than they were back then. People were building grids out of gotcha weapons because there was no choice. And so you were really, really just praying for good weapons. So actually, let me start properly here then. Hey Avatar, welcome to the stream. Alright, so if you go to the special, let me back up here. Start at the very beginning. If you go to quest, and then you go to special, you scroll down, you will see the Primarch trials here. You can only do fight them 2 times a day, and you have to be over rank 30. Oh, thank you for the follow, Sack. I forget how you get the seraphic weapons now, actually. It's been so long. I forget if they're from the shop or what. Let me look it up really fast because this is kind of important, actually. 1 second. Alright, so I was wrong. Zero Shop, yeah. Let's see here. Wrong tab. There we go. So, menu, shop, weapon series, and then seraphic weapons. You'll have these 4 options. You'll have to collect a bunch of stuff, which are normal drops in the game. I'll put this link in the chat really fast. Right there. And each one you click on will say, hey, I need X, Y, and Z. Building these weapons for these 4 elements, fire, water, earth, and wind, are completely, utterly worth it. They will give you an SR weapon. It doesn't take a lot of things. 1 dragon scale, 10 whorls of the proper element, 3 treasure drops of an elemental type, 5 of the proper element type of another treasure drop, 5 tomes, and 5 low orbs. Now, these weapons are great because of one very important thing. They have low attack power and hit points usually at the beginning, but they give you They give you this skill right here. So-and-so's Blessing 1. In that case, 1. My version is maxed out, but boost to fire allies' damage against wind foes. These weapons are very specific, and they only work against the proper element. So, fire being strong against wind, it's a boost against that. It's a boost against wind. However, what it doesn't say is that it's a 10% flat increase. It will not show up on the calculator. You can't scale it up. But it is even just the first version of it. The version you build out of the small amount of things you need is a tremendous boost to your grids. They're not affected by any skill boosts of any type, but again, totally worth building the first version of all of them. There comes a point later on when they're no longer worth having the grid. They're no longer worth having in the grid until you make them the SSR version. And you do that, each star on the SR version you have requires a certain number of elements and such. They also involve doing that fight I showed you earlier under the special quests section. But getting into SSR gives you max level 100, so higher stats. It updates the charge attack, which is nice. Changes this to Blessing 2, so now it's a 20% increase, which is just amazing on its own. And then you get Element's Majesty, Fire's Majesty in this case, which is a small boost to attack and hit points. Now, this part almost doesn't even matter. No matter what, you want this skill. So, like I said, go to the CO shop, click on the Seraphic Weapons button. Yeah, exactly. It's just... Now it's 20% for the SSR version, 10% for the SR version. Again, even the SR version is just a big boost for fire, water, earth, and air. And wind. Air. Not Captain Planet. Just such a beautiful thing. So, if you don't have those weapons yet, those 4 weapons, I highly suggest you get the weapons you can and put them into the grids. If you don't have the items you need to make the weapons in the first place, keep an eye on the special dailies. In this section here, the first 2 lines will be... You can only get one of each, actually. They're unique weapons. The game will only let you make one. So, like, since you're talking about water, go ahead and, if you build the water one, and replace your weakest weapon with it, you will see a significant boost in your damage. That is the one thing, as I said, they're strong against the element they're strong against, but only against that. So if you take your fire team against a non-wind team, a non-wind fight, a boss, the 10% increase will not take effect. It's still still give you... Yeah, so I can't show you, unfortunately, because I already uncapped all of mine, but when you do the Primarch trials, each of these will drop a unique item you need to uncap them, and on top of that, the trial here, these trials, so the fire trial, the water trial, earth and wind trials, drop a specific item you need as well, plus the other things you need. That being said, the Deluge trial's kind of hard, but even without being able to uncap them, like I said, the 0-star version of those weapons are just amazing. They're just beautiful. 10%, like I said, 10% doesn't sound like a lot, but in the short term and the long term, actually, it's a lot. So yeah, like I said, I highly suggest everyone who does not have them yet go to Shop, Weapon Series, then the Seraphic Weapons. So, yeah, so like, the first time you upgrade, it requires a halo, which comes from the Primarch fight, and then items from the appropriate element trial, these little fragment thingies that are annoying. They're not guaranteed drops, unfortunately, but you know, nothing in this game is guaranteed. Very few things in this game are guaranteed, unfortunately. So yeah, I very highly strongly recommend that. Now, some of you might are wondering possibly, well, okay, I replaced the weapon, but how do I know it's actually better for me? And that is where, under gameplay extras, you get trial battles. Trial battles were put in last year, and you can try one of 6 types of fights. If you want to try out your AoE, you can use the test turrets. And if you want to test out your damage in general, oh yeah, the Revenant weapons are much more intensive. The Seraphic weapons were put in for newer players, actually. They realized people were having problems, like, getting to the point where they're feeling comfortable and happy with the game. This is conjecture, mind you. I don't work as games, so I don't know for sure. If I did, I couldn't say. But they are such an important help to the fight, to doing damage and such, and making the game more fun, that the first version, like I said, doesn't take a lot of stuff to build. And then it gives you a pretty reasonable boost to damage really fast. So, you're going for Tien, then, Duck. Tien's really good, actually. Tien is one of the most Esser, yeah. Esser/Tien, because names aren't consistent in this game sometimes. She's very popular because she gives a 5% increase drop rate on top of everything else. So, well, the names in Japanese aren't consistent either. They're different languages. So, any case, I'm going to show you something really fast. So, actually, let me go ahead and... Oh, no. Wrong element. There we go. Fire. I'm going to swap out you. What did I do that for? There. So, gonna go to the, do the trial battle without the Michael sword I've got, and I'm gonna choose a non-boost just for pure raw damage. And this version, his hit points won't go down, but he won't attack me either. So it's great. It's a test dummy for those of you who are used to those kinds of games. Excuse me. Pardon me, goodness. All right. So. So 245k. So you can kind of see what your damage is. And thank you. Thank you all. So those are my average damages, right? Prinz. Why must you do this to me, Prinz? And I'm going to leave and come back with my swap in the Michael sword instead. And you'll see how much of a damage difference there is there. So here we go. You can see a definite increase in my attack power. Jita was doing 37, 38 per hit before, and now she's doing 46. So yeah, 20% extra. So those are the basic basic way you can work on your grid. So the big things to remember are A, weapon skills are paramount. You want the sword weapon skill, the attack up weapon skill, more than anything else. You want to try to match your weapon skills to your summon if you can. And for those of you who do not have the seraphic weapons yet, for your fire, water, earth, and wind grids, get those as fast as you can. And for skill leveling up your weapons, SRs are good until skill level 5 or 6 for SSR weapons. And after that, if you've got the extra spare SR weapons that you don't need, or if they're health up, hit point up weapons, you want to use those at skill level 2 from 6 to 10 for that purpose. Let's see here. Retreat. Now, I promised some folks yesterday I was talking to that I would show off a goofy team that I put together after a discussion with my friend Dom. And there they are. So I'm going to go ahead and auto them until they hit 100% each. So we were talking about, there's an ability known as Chaser. Right here. All allies gain bonus elemental damage effect. What that means is when someone hits, they get a second hit. You'll see two numbers of set to damage on the screen at once. So we were joking about, well, oh, I chose the wrong fight. Ah, Richard, you silly boy. All right, let me try this again. That's the one I wanted. That's not the one I wanted. That's the one I wanted. Gosh darn it. In Trial Battle, they're free. I think Crescens is talking about during the Primarch fights. But in addition to Chaser, which gives the bonus effect, there's Choke, from the Hermit class, which means all attacks become multi-attacks, AoE. So we were joking about... Thanks for the follow, FPX. Oh. Right, I forgot about that. Well, in that case... because Crescent was talking about Wizards at the same time, but I thought you were talking to him. In any case, we were joking about how many chasers can we get on the screen at once. And I believe this is the highest possible number I can get. Warlock will give Chaser and Choke, so everyone hits all three of them, and that's one stack of Chaser right there. Fairy's Super adds another Chaser. UL's skill adds a Chaser. And then Natamea, on the bottom there, her skill gives herself a Chaser. So she's going to have 5 numbers per guy at the same time per hit. So, let's see how this works. Chaser. Choke. Miserable Miss, because why not? Foxfire. Now Fairy's going to be short 1 Chaser because multi-attack on top of that. And she gets... There she's going to get her Chaser there. And now, this ability gives everyone bonus Light Chaser only. So one of them will be yellow and not blue. Alright folks, are you ready? Are you ready for some silliness? Here we go. Oh my god, that was ridiculous. Oh my god, that was beautiful. Oh my god. Well... So that was just a little bit of silliness I wanted to show off the folks really fast. This only works under certain circumstances, mind you. So, still, that was fun. That was fun. I got another Chaser on top of that for Natamea because I have a weapon that gives the 4th slot another Chaser on top of everything else. So... I could possibly do this during strike time, if I wanted to, but I don't know very many fire element bosses that have this many. Agni, I guess, during... Oh lord, Agni during Rise of the Beasts. I might have to try that out. Oh, that's funny. Oh, that is so funny. I may have to try that out now. That's... Okay, any case, before, oh, this team will die. This team is toast. She's not doing any actual real damage. She's only there to make these two and her more powerful, but, that's fine. You know, this was a silly fun team, not necessarily a serious team. But now that I know it worked, now that I know it is possible to Yeah, so, go ahead and retreat out of here. If I'm actually racing in an Agni, I'm bringing my Silva team. Just because it's just more consistent damage. Also, with that many numbers on screen, it'll probably slow things down actually for me. So, I don't know, actually. Then again, with Agni, he has those extra dudes. I should see how much health they have and see if doing 1.7 million damage per round will kill them. So, are there any other questions about weapon grids and summons? Oh, real fast, this may sound silly, but a summons call. Let me go back to the inventory really fast. The aura, rather, I should say. The aura of a summon only takes effect when it's your primary summon, your main summon, or your friend summon. So the other 4 in your grid, their auras do not take account. So if you want to use Colossus for his Colossus Omega's aura for the boosted Vulcan skills, he has to be in your main slot. I know some people are like, but they're so ugly. Well, unfortunately, that's how the game works. So, alright, so the last thing I wanted to go over is, let me look it up really fast. Calculator. And I'll put this in chat as well. That's a very good question, actually. It depends on the fight you're going to, like a lot of things in this game. But as an example, my default loadout for my teams is because I 95% of the time try to stick on element. So when I take my fire team, it's against the wind boss. So I got my fire carbuncle here for fire attack increase, a wind carbuncle for defense, because of the call effect, which is a 50% increase to attack, a boost to attack, and a 50% cut to damage. And then here, if I didn't, my default loadout is these two because of their abilities. God Guard Alexiel here puts up a 70% damage cut shield, which is very nice. And then Dark Angel Olivia there has a ability to do delay, i.e. knock off 1 charge diamond for her call. But if I'm not worried about either of those things at all, then I'll just put in the highest attack values I can. It's kind of a balancing act. You know, if you're not worried about doing more damage or taking less damage, or if you don't need like a charm or any of the other abilities on summons, then just load up on attack. In fact, for my farming teams, for like doing Angel Halo and stuff, the summons other than the main summon are just whoever had the advised attack, I just shoved them in at the time. So, but yeah, with only 5 slots, you do have to kind of think about it and like, you know, definitely for the first time I do a fight, I bring my default loadout here, those 4 plus the main summon. Well, not this. You know, obviously the 2 carbuncles are based on the element of the team. But yeah, I'm not even gonna get into those. Those are complicated. I'm not gonna even deal with those yet. I'll go over those some other time. Eventually, I'll start Granblue 201, and when I do, then we'll go over those. But because they're more complicated. They require some more mathing, and I need some more experience with them first, honestly. As a note, the carbuncles there, which, by the way, never, ever, ever Google the word carbuncle by itself. Ever. Just trust me on this. And that's not a challenge. Don't actually do it. For the love of God, please don't do that. No, it does not. When your skill, leveling up the skill in a weapon, the well, let me back up. Do you mean the element of the weapons you're using to skill up, or do you mean this element on the skill you're increasing? Yeah, I'm talking about the medical meaning of carbuncle, actually. A carbuncle's a kind of tumor. And they're very unpleasant to look at. So when I first heard the term being used in a game, I was like, what the actual hell? And then I saw a picture of it being a cute little thingy. Okay, yeah, no. The elements of the the weapons being used as fodder do not matter. There's no boost for using the same element or anything like that. No, just whatever you've got. I'm kind of glad of that, because otherwise people will be like, I need to save more fire weapons or whatever. But yeah, no. Yeah, just all that matters is the skill level. Yeah, carbuncle, when I first ran the carbuncle in Final Fantasy, I was like, huh? That's not... Because I was familiar with the medical version of it when it first came out. The first time I heard the term carbuncle was the medical term. And then Final Fantasy came along with it, and I'm like, I'm really scared by this thing, because I just saw the name of it. I didn't use the summon itself for a while. I think it was like 5, 6. One of those was the first time I ever heard the term in the game. And when I finally said, you know what, I'm going to just try this out, it can't be that bad, it's pixel art. It was cute. I'm like, oh, they have no idea. Or it means something else somewhere else. I don't know. But, yeah. Just do yourself a favor, never look it up. Always append GBF or FF or something like that. But, back to my original point. As you've been rolling through the gacha... Oh, that's why. That's really... Oh, man. Oh, God. Alright. Any case. I can't believe I'm face palming during a GBF 101. Time to add to the counter. Any case. If you get any of the carbuncles here during your gacha spinning, they are totally worth using in your teams, because, again, they can, with a Holy Saber's Phalanx, or Athena's Call, or Godsworn's Call, give you 100% immunity to an elemental damage effect for 1 round. And then for 2 other rounds, since the carbuncle effect lasts for 3 turns, 50% damage cut against that element. That being said, yes, only a 3-star carbuncle has the 50% damage cut. Otherwise, it's 25%. So yeah, so the fire and wind carbuncles are my default for my fire team because I only take them against fire bosses, or at wind bosses. So the fire one is for boosting my fire damage, and then the wind one is there. Yeah, well, and then the wind one is there to take damage away from the boss I'm fighting. So, all right. So the damage calculations, I should say. So, like I mentioned before, I'm glad you're learning a lot, man. I'm glad to help. I love this game a lot, and I want everyone to enjoy it. And I feel like there's so many things that are hard to explain in the game because they're kind of complicated. You know, if I have any way to really if there was any way really to like make this, if I had to distill this into the weapon grid really fat into a thing is skills more important than attack power. Make skills same element as your team. Make skills the sword only. Those 3 rules. If I had to really kind of try to distill it down to 3 quick things. So, yeah, exactly. I've been getting questions about this stuff actually for the past couple weeks actually, since I went to GBF Fest a couple weeks ago. Friends of mine who saw me talking about it on Twitter and stuff were like, I'm curious about the game, and so like, oh, this is how you play it, etc., etc., etc. And recently, I actually over Skype helped a friend with their grid. Like, I asked them to like, click on this, click on that, show me this, show me that, and I helped them improve their grid. And then on Friday after lunch, I had a meeting with a friend. They did not have anything that you were looking interested in, Ashley, unfortunately. I might have, there's something I grabbed for you, but I don't remember what it's off the top of my head. Oh, no, I was gonna grab you something, but I was unable to. But I can order them. I'll be ordering a bunch of stuff in the near future, so you'll be getting something. They had lines. They had big lines. Any case, one thing if people would be interested in me looking at their grids and stuff and kind of like over Skype or something helping out, I can do that too in the near future. Maybe not today, but yeah, no, I'll have something. Like, if people are interested, we can talk about that. Any case, so yeah, I can, after what was that old show, Pimp My Ride? What would this be, Fix My Grid? I certainly wouldn't mind. I could even do it on stream if people wanted, like, as long as we can make things private for people. That'd be hilarious. Yeah, I'll be playing Battle Chef for about maybe half an hour after this. Welcome to Pocky, Fix My Grid. I'm your host, Pocky. No. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to go over, and I'm not sure, this is going to get kind of numbery, so I apologize. The link I put earlier, just now, I just put in is the link to the GBF wiki, but the formula is right as far as I'm able to tell. On how the boost multiplier is determined. Oh God, I don't have the hair though for that, you know. Any case, so like I mentioned, there's 4 kinds of multipliers in the game. I should have bought that. Should have bought that V hat. I really should have. Oh well. Maybe it'll be available later on. Any case, so as I mentioned, there's 4 kinds of multipliers in the game: normal, magna/omega, EX, also known as unknown, and elemental. We're going to be concerned about the first 3 more than anything else: normal, omega, and EX. So, as I said before, really fast, each skill has a level, as you know, and there's a chart available somewhere. If there's not one on the US Wiki, I will build a quick page later this week and put it up so people can see. But like, so my canes are skill level 10 Magna attack boost up. So I would look at the chart and say, oh, they're 15% each. So that means this is 15 plus 15 plus 15 plus 15. So that's 60. And then on top of that, it's multiplied by the summon I've got, the Omega Summon. So they're actually 1.2, 120% then. So my Magna multiplier for this is 120%, as an example. I don't remember the actual numbers off the top of my head. And then I have my normal multipliers here. We'll just call that 30%, just for the sheer ease of it. And then let me take a quick look at that. Oh, good, they put it up. Yes, that is the chart. Thank you. Oh, it's not huge, it's massive. All right. I play in Japanese primarily, so I actually don't know a lot of the English names, so I apologize for that. And so thank you for that, Nickel. And we'll ignore these weapons for now. Don't worry about those. So let's say that I've got, because of the Omega, I've got 120% times 40% times 40%. You actually multiply those all together. So 0.4 times 0.4, which is 1.6, times 1.2, which is, let me think here, 1.92. Or there's the actual numbers there. But in any case, by the fake numbers I just came up with, my total multiplier would be 1.92, and then I multiply that times my total attack power, and that would be my my damage factor. So, as each of those numbers increases, your total multiplier gets bigger. And this is why having some way to boost your grid skills, your weapon grid skills, is important, because if these weren't doubled, if these were just 0.6, it'd be 0.6 times 0.4 times 0.4, which is not, it's a huge loss of attack power then. 1.6 times 0.6 is what? 0.96. Nice, but still not great. And actually, in fact, that'd be a lower. Oh. Any case, so this is why it's important to try to stack your grid with the appropriate weapons. Now, because it's a lot of math, yeah, so this is why skill levels are more important than just the raw numbers. The raw numbers are important; they're your base, but you get to a point where increasing the base number that's being multiplied is not as important as how much you're increasing it by that multiplier. There is, if you want to take a spreadsheet and just sit there and math it all out, you can't figure out, well, here is the point where it's better for me to switch from X to Y. It's a lot of work. That's one of the reasons why I use the trial battle. If I get a new weapon, I can check it out really fast and just say, okay, here's how it's going to work here and there. I'll put it into the grid and just give it a shot. I'm a game designer by trade, so that kind of thing actually is stuff that I like to do. But even then, that's a lot of math to have to do just for one small increase, so I don't tend to do it as much for this game. Okay, so in this case, Avatar's talking about the Colossus weapons, the Omega grid weapons, because excuse me. So yeah, the boost here affects this skill here. So let's see here. It's 15% normally as an increase, and so with the summon boost, the summon aura, these 15% become, I guessed right, become 30 each. So it's 1.2, 120% increase. And so, in this case, these Magna Canes are much more valuable than the other weapons in the grid, even though these are actually really strong too. But rarely do you want to build a grid that is all the exact same weapon, because of the way the multipliers are calculated. The only real known the only thing that really does not quite work in that style is the Chevalier / Luminera sword. And this is actually a lesson in what I call bad game design. As much as I love this weapon and I am constantly grinding for it. So, right, so the attack power of your whole team will be increased on the skill... Oh, on the weapon type, yes. So, if you can have... I'll get to that in a second, because it does kind of factor in, but it makes things difficult in some cases. So, really fast, this weapon has a normal multiplier and a Magna multiplier at the same time. And when it first was released 3 years ago now, I believe, it's been a while, because we're talking about the 4th year now, the players mathed it out, and they realized this is the absolute best weapon in the game, bar none. Because you get both multipliers on one weapon. So you don't have to worry about only putting 4 of this and 3 of another. You can literally just stack this weapon and then end up with a ridiculously powerful grid. And so if you look at the shop, where you can trade in pendants for weapons, you'll notice that most of them say 2 per month, except for the Luminaris Omega Sword, which says, I think now it says 7 total, but originally only said 4. Because it was just such a good weapon that they, people were going to only buy that for the next, however many months until they had a full grid. It's 8 total now. All right. I've bought 6 then. So this is one of the most powerful weapons in the game and has a really high max attack value on top of it. I'm really curious as to the designer who put this weapon together, like what they were thinking and why it was okayed and how it got through QA and everything else. Really curious. It's a cool looking weapon, and they had a model of it, actually 1/1 scale model of it at GBF Fest, but there was even a wedding recently, apparently, between 2 people who are both players, and they had this as their cake cutter, apparently. So, there you go. His drop rate is very low. I got a streak of them a while ago, and I was like afraid I was going to get hit by a bus or something. So, okay, so to go back to your question there, Nickel, when you click on a character, you'll notice it says Specialty Saber, in this case for Percival here. Every character gets a very small bonus to their attack power based on the number of weapons in the grid that are their specialty weapon. So for Percival here, since it's sabers, he gets 2, because only 2 of these are. This is a saber, this is a saber, this is a katana. I think there's a katana. Yeah, it's a katana. Alright. Which you can see the weapon types here, next to their element. It's a really tiny icon, but the katana is the blade crossed against the scabbard. So in Percival's case, he's getting a tiny boost to his attack power, but not a lot. Yes and no. The problem is this. In very few occasions, like I'm trying to think of any. Like, for example, right, so like I was going to say, as Avatar says here, my grid is primarily canes right now. And the number of characters I have whose specialty is staff is currently very small. Let me see here. Time to play. Does Richard remember? Staff, bow, saber, spear. I want to say melee, fist weapons. Staff, fist weapons, saber, spear, saber, fist weapons, gun. You don't, actually. I was about to get to that. I'll get to that in a second too. So of the 12 characters I have here, only 2 of them are cane specialty. Possibly 3. I mean, actually, you know what? Are you melee? Yeah, you're melee. So, so the boost you get from stacking the specialty weapon is strong, but not strong enough to make you go off of whatever your summon type now is. Now, that being said, if I had a primal grid, a normal weapon grid, not Magna / Omega, then I could try to build a weapon grid that was stacked with fire sabers, or sabers that were fire attack up. And then Percival there would get really strong, would be even stronger. But the bonus you get from that versus the skill bonus you get for using the proper Omega weapon and Omega summon in that case is not high enough. You would lose too much attack power to make it worth it. Now, the Omega grid, the ultimate grid I should say, that Prince is talking about, there are a new series of weapons that were released a little while ago. Yeah, Leviathan is daggers. Leviathan drops daggers, spears, staffs, and bows for the SSR. Yggdrasil is swords, staves, bows, and daggers. Colossus is canes, katanas, guns, and fists. Tiamat is fists, guns, axes, and spears. Luminera is swords, guns, swords, guns, harps, and axes. And Celeste is fists, axes, harps, and spears. Now, for the Omega, what is the English version of this title? Because I've lost track. So, okay, Ultima Weapons. All right, because in Japanese, oh god, this is frustrating. So, Magna weapons in Japanese are Omega weapons in English. Ultima weapons in English are Omega weapons in Japanese. This is why I get confused when I talk to some folks these days. So I'm like, wait, Omega? Do you mean Magna, or do you mean the Ultima weapon? Ah. So the Ultima weapons were released recently, and they are made to take advantage of a character's... Dude, trust me. I play Japanese normally, right? So, I'll be researching stuff in Japanese, and then I'll talk to my friends in English about the game, and I just... Alright, so, the Ultima weapons, and I actually have one, thanks to some late-night grinding. Got my first Atma sword. Gladius Parody. Big boost to Saber specialty allies attack and hit points. Yeah, I know. It's... I don't know why Magna was so bad, but oh well. So what this weapon does is that every character in the party that uses sabers as their specialty weapon, so in my case here, Percival and UL, and my main character, because she's currently a Chaos Ruler, and so specialty 1 saber, specialty 2 dagger, they get I want to say 20% boost to their attack. Maybe 10%. But in any case, this weapon does not require the rest of the grid to also be sabers. It only requires the character to have that specialty. So, because of that, Greya here, her specialty is melee, so she does not get the bonus from it. but Percival and UL do. And again, that's fine. It doesn't matter that the rest of my grid is not swords. I only have the 2. It only matters that the characters themselves have the specialty. The weapon that requires the rest of the grid to be the same weapon... Ah, okay. I got Greya randomly, and she's been very helpful. Although, if I ever get Sturm or Winter Beatrix, I'm going to replace her. Because those are sword users. Alright, so... The Ultima Sword... Get my terms right. The Ultima Sword is... The boost for the Ultima Sword is based on the character's specialty. The Cosmo Sword here in the middle boost to attack and hit point of equipped swords. And this is actually wrong. I just realized. That should be equipped sabers. It should be Cosmic Saber. Oops! Even though it's called Cosmic Sword. Because what this does is, and it doesn't show up on here, but these 5 swords, because it doesn't affect itself, I don't think. Maybe it does. Who knows? This is actually 2513 times 1.2. So effectively 2700 attack power now. That sword is why I want the rest of my grid to be as many swords as possible, if at all possible. It's kind of a weird thing. Which character is the hottest? Your mileage may vary. So yeah, so in a Wind Magna grid, the Cosmo Gun is ridiculously good. In a Magna Celeste grid, the Cosmo Fist is good. So I can theoretically use my Cosmo Sword here in my Earth grid as well, and I might eventually. I need to do some testing, but the third type of special weapon are the Bahamut weapons, and they're still Bahamut weapons in English too, right? Okay, good. Oh, good. They're Bahamut weapons. Yay. There we go. So the Bahamut weapons, Orchid's pretty cool too. She's hard to use for me because my dark grid is an enmity grid, so I want low health, and she's all about keeping her health up as high as you can. You don't want her to get hit. Yes, Naname is my favorite by a fair amount, for a number of reasons. True story, I felt that she was my favorite character at the beginning because she's probably my hardest hitting character in the game, actually. And then I actually did her Fate episodes, and I was like, aw, she's adorable. So yeah, she's my favorite. Any case, the Bahamut weapons give boosts based on the species of the characters in your party. So, oh lord. The problem is that she's kind of hard to use, so I'm really hoping for 5-star Naname this month or next month. I really, really am. Please. Please, Kimura. Please, Kimura. Any case, the skill for the Bahamut weapons are based off the species of the characters in your team, so oh, good, yeah. Put that in your grid, and then you should see a And you see it's a definite increase in your power there, Nickel. Oh, okay. Well, that's fine too. This game is definitely 100% designed for all sorts of play. And so I know plenty of people who play waifu teams, or husbando teams, or both. Um, but as many of the folks in the chat here know, as much as I love, certain characters, I'm all about the numbers. I want to see things get crushed. If that can be done with cute characters, but with the exception of Natamea, maybe. I might not ever replace her in my Dark team, even though I should. In any case, so right here it says boost to humans and giraffes attack and hit points. So my team, as you can see, are two human, are a human, a giraffe, I'm not sure what they call them. What are you? Primal. They're primals. Oh, for God's sakes. And Jita and Gran count as unknown. So unknowns and primals are affected by all Bahamut weapons. It's like a 10% increase in attack power and stuff. And so Dark Jean and Natamea there are getting a boost from the Bahamut weapon. For a long time, welcome to the stream, Easy Bake. There was a joke that the Bahamut weapons were all about segregation because depending on which weapon you had, or weapons you had, you only wanted certain combinations of characters. But now with the Ultima weapons, it's become even more kind of like you really want to focus down on certain characters. Supposedly we're going to see a boost to the Bahamut weapons in this year. I'm really curious to see how that's going to work out, but we'll see. In any case, the Bahamut weapons and the Ultima weapons start from the same source. Which are the rusted weapons. Hooray! You may have seen these if you've ever done the Angel Halo fights. And let's see here. Let's go ahead with gun. The rusted gun, 1 attack, 1 hit point. No charge attack, no skills at all. What you do with this weapon, with the rusted weapons, is you get them to skill level 3, or the star 3, which gives them a max level 75. Max level them. I'll get to that in a second. Let me finish this, and then I'll get to that. You get this to level 75. Then you go to the shop. Go to the Bahamut weapons. Here. Cores of the Dawning Universe. Oops. Do I not have any? There we go. You take this, add one Bahamut horn, and you get a Dagger of Bahamut, which will give you the proper skill. Each of the 10 weapons has a different race, species, or combination of species that they give a boost to. And then after that, once you've got that to level 75 and skill level 10, Well, I don't have any right now, but you would make this version of it, which is a super, super rare version of it. And then the final version requires 5 impossible level Bahamut horns, which, as you can see, I do not have. But then you get the weapon of Bahamut Coda, which increases their skill even more. And increases their max level and everything else. So this is my current next goal, actually, right here. Is this bad boy right here. Okay, so EX weapons. I'm not sure when they introduced them, per se, but they're just another multiplier. So like I said, you've got the normal weapons, which are increased by the 6, I guess I'll just call them god summons now. You know, Agnes, Runa, Zeus, and the others. You've got the Omega weapons, or the Omega summons, which are Magna weapons, the M. And then EX weapons are usually from events. Like, you're not going to get them from the gacha, and you're not going to get them from the standard in-game fights. But they're on their own multiplier as well. And like everything else, there's EX, health up, EX attack up, etc., etc., etc. You want to have one EX weapon. I consider the Xenos events, actually, because they're only around for a little bit. But the EX weapons are something you want to have 1 or 2 of in your grid at most, usually. And because they're not affected by any summons that most people have. I have... let's see here. Where are you, Ronco? There you are. Oops, nope, not that Ronco, that Ronco. She is one of the few characters that increases EX abilities, EX skills, by 66%. Not worth it. So, that being said, per grid, you want to have 1 or 2 EX weapons, at most. Again, it's a lot of mathing to kind of figure out what, which one you want and such, but as long as it's got a relatively high skill level, it will increase your overall damage. You'll notice that in my grids, I've got 2 EXs here, got 1 in my light, I've got 2 in my wind grid. Oops, didn't increase that. My earth grid has 1, has just the 1. You at least want 1 of everything. Because if you don't have any, the multiplier is considered, you don't get any multiplication at all. And 1.1 is better than 1. They do repeat some events, and if you've been, the side stories they're introducing are actually old events. Like if you go to Gameplay Extra's side stories, these are actually all old events. So you can see what the stories were, get new characters, and SR and SSR fodder in some cases, or even stuff for your grid. I I have been lazy and not done these because I've just been working on other stuff. I really should just do all these like in a day or something and just grind through them. But yeah, so it's kind of cool. We get to see these events again. But yeah, so generally speaking, out of a grid of 10, you want at least one normal, at least one Omega, at least one EX weapon. And then the rest of it should be filled in with what ever your summon increases, whatever your summon boosts. Whether it's your summon or your friend's summon, you're going to want that in your grid. To help you out. So, like I said, if you look at my, I will use my wind grid as the example. Actually, in this case, it's the most heavily. So I've got 6 Magna weapons, 2 EX, 1 normal, and then a Bahamut weapon here. So I was gonna say, that's why I said your friend summon. So when you go into a fight, you take someone else's summon with you. Right, but it doesn't multiply in the same way. Rage of the Beast weapons count as normal weapons. And they're very good, actually. So if you can save up for those, I would highly recommend you save up for those. The Fire Katana, the Water Hammer, the Water Axe / Hammer. I don't remember what the Wind and the Earth weapons are good ones for those are. But like, let me go ahead and do a trial battle real fast just to show. So, if I didn't have a max level Leviathan Omega, I would just borrow a friend and then use this as an proper example. So even though my strongest water summon in this case is Cactus's, or whatever his name is. Tukaitis, that's it. It's a 50% boosted water attack. And actually, is Associate better than that now? No, 40%, alright. So even though you have your best water is so even though this is, you know, so if you're best associate, your friend's support summon, this will affect your grid also. So even if you don't have it, you can build a Magna grid until then and just borrow other people's. If that is the situation you're in, I recommend you build a Magna grid, Omega grid, versus a normal grid, because the Omega summons are much more common than the non-Omega summons are. And for summons, most of the time you want one skill increasing summon and one elemental increasing summon. Yeah, pretty much. That's the best way to do it. And Bonito is actually not bad if you've got a team full of water summons. I think that's what Bonito does. Yeah. I think do I have Bonito? I do not remember. Thought I got him. Or was it Dark? No, I have an albacore. That's right. Albacore really not that useful actually, but he's a good fish. Um, there's Silva. Yep, there's Bonita, there's Albacore. Two different fish-based events. So yeah, it depends on what your grid is, Neko. If you've got a grid full of Leviathan SRs, then actually using a friend's Leviathan is great. Otherwise, using just double boosted water attack is fine. All right, then in that case, with your UL associate summon, then just whatever the biggest boost to water attack you can get is probably best for now. There's just debate on when the best time to switch over is. I would say skill level when you've got a grid full, and by full I mean at least 5 or 6. Leviathan, Omega, well not Leviathan, but rather Omega skill at level 3 to 4, and you got a fair number of them in your grid. It's better to just go with Bonito or Europa or Ebisu or Makala Maurice. No, actually. The Water, Hoarfrost, etc., those are the normal skills. And, well, if the weapons you have in that grid are, again, relatively high skill level, then it might not be then it might not be a bad idea to try using that. But, overall, boost to water attack is just your best bet. Without having to go into the math of it all and grab a piece of paper and a pencil and number it all out. Like I said, I'll repeat this. Until you have 5 or 6 weapons, what Avatar's talking about is getting to he's getting to the super nitty gritty, and I'm trying to make things a little more overall simple. No offense, Avatar. Once your grid has about 5 or 6 either Omega or normal weapons, at skill level 3 to 4-ish, it's better to go with boost to attack, water, whatever element it might be, as your friend summon and your own summon. Once you get to the point where you have, like I said, 5 or 6 weapons with a good number of skill levels on them, then you can start working on. Then you can start worrying about using an Omega summon as a friend or a God summon as a friend for the fight. But even then, at that point, still just using boost to element attack will still be okay. Actually, the percent increase in damage you'll get from using the it's not as awful as that could be, because of the way the increases are. But yeah, overall, it's better to kind of increase them all over time. And yeah, you will get more fodder. That's what the game is all about, getting weapon drops and such. So, and yeah, it's as much as I love this game, it's really complicated, honestly, and that's why I'm doing this today. I think maybe I'll do Battleship Brigade next week because I only have half an hour left. But with that time, if people here are interested, I will summon up a bunch of Omega fights that everyone can just jump in, hit a couple times, and then hopefully we'll get you guys drops. Would you all be interested in that? It's a lot of people, and wow, it's a lot of folks now. Hello, everyone. All right, so let me. If you've never joined a raid this way, the way I'm going to do this, because not everyone in the chat is part of my crew, I can do that, sure. You'll go to enter my ID, enter ID. You can type in here the ID that I'll show, and I'm going to ask the folks in my crew who are watching if they're willing to jump in and help out to not obliterate the summons, the fights immediately, so that people can get hits in at least. All right, so I will. We'll do Grand Order at 12:50ish or so. Let me make sure actually that I have the material to summon that really fast. I need a Peacemaker Star. 1 second. Irashai. Peacemaker's Wings. No, I have one more. I can make one more. Alright. Alright. I can make one last one, and then I'm not making any more Geos for a while because I'm working on something else. But, well, for Geo, everyone can go nuts. For the other fights, which I'll do first, alright, we will go in elemental order. I'll do one of each of these. And I will treasure hunt them to 9, so there's a higher chance for a good loot to drop. So don't worry about bringing treasure hunt, folks. Just bring your strong teams. So, first up, Colossus Omega. Let's see. Alright, Chiliax. Treasure hunt team. Go! Let me go ahead and get this treasure hunt going. Now, folks, with Silvas, don't just obliterate the character, please. Alright, so here's the ID. I'll put it in chat, too. So you can just copy-paste. 4, 9, 3, 5, 6, 8. So I'm going to turn off. Oh, no, do not retreat from my own fight. Back up. There. So yeah, so folks who are in my... Yeah, let other folks get a hit in, and then get some hits in first. So be sure to get your hits in, folks. I've also turned off sharing a request backup on this because I think there's enough of you guys, gals, to just obliterate this. So also because it's my treasure hunt party, I will be of zero help. They do no damage. You might have been when I did share the hearts, actually, yeah. Alright. Good work, folks. I got a macaron, yay. Alright, next up, water. Leviathan Omega. Good old snake. Sure. Alright, 1 second, folks. Thank you for the follow, 8-bit. 30, yeah, but the 8-bit, yeah, thank you. Thank you for the follow, 8-bit. And here's the next code. Let's see here. It's interesting to see the English versions of a lot of these, actually. If people are curious, I can do this again in a couple weeks for either jobs or other stuff. Oh, Lunalu. You dojin drawing person, you. Alright, good job, folks. Next up, good old Yugu. Alright. Alright, Mickey, I mean Mary. Alright. I can if you want. It would depend on. Well, we can discuss that later. Alright. Yeah, you use Luna's skill first, and then she'll try to copy the next skill after that. I kept doing it the other way for a long time, and I wondered why she wasn't doing anything. But yeah. Good grief. Ding, 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 ding. Alright. Wow, I wasn't paying attention for a couple seconds, and y'all done took her down. Huh. This is the Soul Staff. And it's not bad to start off with for Earth Grid. Gaia's Might is an attack increase, but it's not as good as the Yggdrasil Sword. And, alright, last up, Wind, Tiamat. Huh, alright. I have no one with, how do you have my list right now? Ezreal's great, I love Ezreal. She did not was not able to copy that. Alright. There you go, folks. I'm gonna look up the Grand Order fight really fast while we're doing this. Because there we go. Otherwise, people are gonna die. Well, people are gonna die anyways. But and there's a chance that some folks will not. So to do the Grand Order fight, you have to be rank 50 or higher. Just as a note. So if you can't join today, I apologize. But I will probably host these again in a few months. I can also host a Bahamut if people are interested. We can go for a. In fact, would people be interested in doing a Proto-Bahamut fight as well? All right. All right. So first things first. Let's go ahead and do the. Actually, oh yeah, I can do that now then. All right. So let my crew know this real fast. No, we are not doing impossible. Yeah, I can do an EMP1. I will. I usually ask questions about this on Twitter on my polls. My Twitter is Pocky469, P-O-C-K-Y. The number is 469. I tend to talk a mix about Granblue and ask people what I should eat for dinner. So, in my polls. So there you go. All right. There we go. Yep, you can vote on my dinner. It's always kind of fun. All right. Oh, also, when you do fights of the higher levels, you might occasionally see this icon right here. It says share chest. If you're in the crew of the person who's hosting, you will have an option to, and you'll see when we do the fight, to vote to kind of roll on one of the chests that are options there. The tradition is whoever hosts get first shot at what they want, and then everyone else votes on something else. I'll talk about it more when it happens, but let me scoot up a little bit because my back's a little stiff now. All right. For this fight, however, I am going to bring one of my strong teams because, oh man, this is not a fight I'll be able to sit my way through and let you guys just beat on. So, I will not fly back and hit you. I'll fly back and hug you, and then make you buy me dinner and my flight. 30, rain up arrows, 3. Right. Actually, yeah, let's do this. Alright, so this fight, as a note, at 90% she puts up a shield, at 80% she puts up a shield, and then 50% she starts doing massive damage to everyone, just so you know. So if you're lower levels and you die, do not feel bad. Please do not feel bad. This is not an easy fight, to be perfectly honest. Right, the shield is local, but still, that's when it happens, though, so people know. If you've got the spell, you can get rid of it, otherwise you just kind of have to bash on her for a little bit and you do less damage. At 50%, she does a really powerful attack. You may die. In fact, you probably will die unless you've got someone casting Phalanx, which... Thank you for the follow, Skylark. So, in any case... let me put up the code. Here is the code. we go. Hello, Nexus. Well, this will probably be still going by the time you finish that TIA, so... The big thing, by the way, is... The primary target is Grand Order. As long as she goes to 0 health, then we're fine. Alright. I wish Alex was watching and she could see me how I use Naname here. Whoever's character is Dida, wow, you're speeding along there. Oh, hey Alex. See ya. And since she's charmed, she actually skipped her 90% shield. Oh, but there she goes. There's the shield. So her shield only lasts 2 turns, so if you don't want to beat on her and do no damage, you can always attack the dragons. And I forgot to do that. Oh well. Ow. That's fine then. Oh, John, stop self-loathing. But you can see with her shield, she does 0. She takes 0 damage there. So again, this is not a bad time to attack her little dragon helpers. Thankfully, the little dragons don't one-shot you, but they do a fair amount of damage, so... Alright, here we go. And then someone's Zeus. I'm not racing right now because, you know, I'm trying to talk about things. Zoe's ability drops her health to, 0 to 1 rather, so that for an enemy team they do maximum damage. So, hey Minia, welcome to the stream. Here we go. That's a little better. So here comes the massive damage that we talked about before at 50%, just so people know. If there are any Holy Sabers in the raid, using them in about a few seconds might not be a bad idea. Thank you for the phalanx, whoever that was. That's a break now. Oh, talking Jita. So yeah, whoever's name is Rida, you're pretty strong there. Rida-sanって誰でしょう? And of course, I am hardly the strongest player in this game by any stretch of the imagination. Something's grumbling at me now. Believe in yourself. Is that interesting? Alright, the Japanese says believe in victory. This is the part where people start dying, so don't worry about it. If you don't feel bad if you die here. By the way, this is Zoe fighting Zoe. Just so. Oh, hey, Tama. We might be able to do it with just this group, actually. Oh, wormhole, huh? No, how about no? Oh, I got removed. Alright, she's not gonna die then. Alright. Wormhole again. Wormhole again. Oops. Oh well. Why are you burning us? Why are you burning us? Stop burning us! We don't like to be burned! Here's that. Traditionally not a fan of being burned, no. Alright, here we go. I hit the wrong button. Oh well.
もう大丈夫だよ。
Alright, folks, congratulations. For those of you who this is your first Grand Order. Grand Order, you mainly fight for chances at blue feathers, which you can trade for other items. I'll go over that stuff kind of in the future. Oh, well, there we go. I got that. Yay. Yay. Alright. I'll gladly take all this. Nice. So the share chest. Those of you in the crew will see these are the items here. A Cosmo rifle for healers. If you're running a wind grid, there's a good weapon right there. Feather, again, these are for trading. And then centrums, silver centrums are for building items and stuff like that. I want this. So those of you who are who see this screen, feel free to vote for the gun or the feather. And if you're not going to vote for either, please hit pass. You're funny, Darkstar. So the feathers you turn in for the horns, and the horns you turn in for weapons or centrums. Once you hit a certain point, you just keep hitting Grand Orders for feathers, honestly. So, waiting for one more person, and then I'll put up the Bahamut. Bahamut's slightly less complicated, but also a lot of fun. Blue crystals are also important, so... who is, Seiya, Alex. Yes, this is true. And welcome to the stream, Inaruna. Inaruna. Yay, I got my Centrum. Alright. Now, for the last raid of the day, Proto Bahamut. Well, you know, you can also save up feathers to get the Cosmo Rifle, but the Cosmo Rifle is only really worth it when you have a lot of guns in your grid, so it's not a huge loss, honestly, there. Alright. Alright. Yeah, sure. Let me swap some people out really fast. There you are. Alright, here you go, folks. It's the skin from the April Fool's event last year. And it's one of my favorites, so... They had 3 of them available for doing the event. Hopefully they'll be back this coming April. Alright, everyone's in. They already started attacking, so here we go. Ah, crap, I used my clarity already. Forgot about that. Wow, good grief. This is going a lot faster than I expected it to. By the way, if you listen to the, there's lyrics to the song. Wow, some folks brought some really strong people. This may be the fastest I've seen a Proto Bahamut disintegrate ever. Wait, are we done? Holy crap! 3 minutes. All right. Yay, horn and 2 katanas. Whoever that was just now just blew through everything. Wow. All right. Well, rusted swords. Go ahead and save the rusted sword for later. But, man, that was funny. Yeah, sure thing. Thank you all for joining me today. Those of you who are in my crew, enjoy your strike time for the rest of the hour. And those of you joining me for today's stream, I hope you got some information that you can use. I will do another 101 probably in 2 weeks, so I can actually play Battleship Brigade next week, so I can get through that game finally. Yeah, thank you much, and I hope to see you all next time. Have a great day, or night, depending, and take care, folks. That's all, folks. Thank you for joining me.